Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our webinar regarding the New Hampshire Conference's Consolidated Investment Fund and our new partnership with United Church Funds. I suspect everyone here has received the letter we sent out in early May, and we are here to kind of talk that through with you all and answer your questions. I am the Reverend Gordon Rankin, Conference Minister of the New Hampshire Conference. I am here with a whole cadre of folks who are here to try to help answer your questions today, who we will introduce in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to take a moment to begin our time together in prayer. So I would invite you all to be with me in prayer. O Holy One, as you gather us together this evening, open our minds, open our souls to hear new information and to be able to process it and discern what the future may be for our church. Dealing with money and investments may feel very earthly, but the work we do is all sacred, including how we handle the resources that you bestow into our care. So let us learn about how we will fulfill this sacred trust as we go forward, being your church in this day in our world. Bless us in our conversations and bless us in our learnings. This we pray in your holy name. Amen. So friends, as I said, I am Gordon Rankin. I will be one of the people talking with you today from the perspective of the New Hampshire Conference Consolidated Investment Fund. I'm going to have the team that is here with us introduce themselves. I will start by having my partner here at the conference, Lydia, introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Lydia Frasca. I am the finance officer here at the New Hampshire Conference. Glad you could all join us tonight.
Very good. Stacy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Stacy Pettis, Executive of Institutional Relationships at United Church Funds, and I cover our clients in New Hampshire.
Matt?
Hi, Gordon. It's good to see everyone, and thanks to everyone for the time. Matt Wagner, I'm the Vice President of Institutional Relationships at United Church Funds. I oversee our client relationships. I've been with UCF for 11 years, and it's good to be with you tonight. Thank you so much.
Very good. Adam?
Hello. I'm not usually seen on these things, but it's nice to be here. I'm Adam Sank. I am Associate for Marketing and Communications at United Church Funds, and I will be assisting with the PowerPoint deck that you'll be seeing in just a few moments.
Very good. We're glad we got to see you for a moment, Adam. And I made you that same thing to our next person, which would be Debbie. Debbie, would you like to say a quick hello?
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here. I'm Debbie Wibowo, and I'm the Marketing and Communication Associate at UCF.
Matthew.
Hey everybody, I am the Director of Responsible Investing at United Church Funds and excited to share more about that work that we do in sustainable and responsible investing.
And Kelsey.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey Rose, and I am in my first year with United Church Funds on the Institutional Relationships team. And prior to working at United Church Funds, I worked at Global Ministries of the United Church of Christ and Christian Church Disciples of Christ. So very familiar with the Zimbabwe partnership that the conference has in New Hampshire, and had a pleasure working with a lot of churches and the conference in New Hampshire and that role, and looking forward to continuing working with you guys in this new way.
Very good. So thank you, all our friends from United Church Funds, for being with us. So as we go through the evening, friends from our participating churches who are with us, you are more than invited to put questions in either the chat or in the question and answer feature. Some of those questions we may answer immediately when you put them in. Some we may say, we know we're going to spend a little time with this topic a little later on and delay them. We fully intend to answer all of your questions through the course of the evening, assuming we actually have answers for them. We will do our best to provide that. So I want to start by giving a little background to why we are here and why you received this letter and the transition that our New Hampshire Conference Consolidated Investment Fund is facing. So for the last 7 or 8 years, the New Hampshire Consolidated Investment Fund has been invested with the Missionary Society of Connecticut's Consolidated Trust Fund. They have been our partners. That has been a relationship for which we are quite grateful and believe has been fruitful. The Missionary Society of Connecticut is has been the fiscal arm of the former Connecticut Conference. As many of you know, a few years ago, the Connecticut Conference joined with the former Massachusetts Conference and the former Rhode Island Conference to become the Southern New England Conference. As happens when you do a joint partnership like that, as you live together, you make certain decisions. And one of the decisions that the board of the Southern New England Conference made was, because of their historic entities, they had a couple, if not 3 different investment mechanisms. And as one conference, it no longer made sense to have those. So the Missionary Society of Connecticut Consolidated Trust Fund decided it was ending its ministry as such. And they would be moving their investments, as the former Massachusetts Conference had done some years before, to be invested through United Church Funds. This meant for us in New Hampshire, we had to seek out a new investment partner, and we have been working on that for a little over, well, we've been working on it for about a year, really intently for a little over 6 months. We have done a few things to do our due diligence around that. We talked with United Church Funds, obviously, as they are the partner that's selected. We talked with the UCC Pension Board, which now has its own investment arm. We talked with Fiducient, who is the investment partner of the Missionary Society of Connecticut's Consolidated Trust Fund. So kind of the grandparent group of what we worked with in our investments through the Consolidated Trust Fund. We also did some small research on a couple other investment opportunities that work with nonprofits. In the end, we made the decision that for us in the New Hampshire Conference, and we believe for those who participate in the Consolidated Investment Fund, that United Church Funds was our best potential of an investment partner. Some of you know, because you've been a part of the Consolidated Investment Fund for long enough, that before we partnered with the Consolidated Trust Fund, we did have some time that we had been in partnership with United Church Funds, and we stepped away for that. There were a few reasons we did that at that time. Probably the biggest one was we were looking for certain communications and reporting pieces that we weren't finding were working quite for us at that time. One of the reasons this felt right now is we believe that the options that UCF offers in this are much, much more what we are hoping for and looking for. And we'll tell you a little bit about those in a few moments. We're also very happy to partner with United Church Funds because the values that United Church Fund works within its investment match the values of the New Hampshire conference as articulated through our annual meetings. And that was something important for us as we were making these considerations. So that's kind of why this change and why now. The timing is soon. We are carrying out all the logistics of making this happen right now. We anticipate the actual transfer to take place during the middle of the month of July. So that is what we are working towards. So now that I've kind of introduced why we have chosen this partner with United Church Funds, I want to let our friends from United Church Funds tell you a little bit about United Church Funds and the ministry that they do through investment. And then we will come back and talk a little bit more about the particulars of this change and how it will happen and how it will affect you as churches. But yeah, Stacy, please tell us about United Church Funds.
Sure. Thank you, Gordon. We're pulling up the presentation now. Again, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak. As we scroll through to the next slide, we just wanted to let you know that our mission is your mission. It's to support our clients' mission through sustainable and responsible investing. And that is the work that we've always been committed to and will continue to do. As we move on to the next slide, just wanted to give you some background information. So United Church Funds has been around for a long time. We are the trusted investment partner to 1,100 local churches, religious judicatories, and faith-based nonprofits, and we manage about $1.2 billion in assets. We're an experienced nonprofit partner to fiduciaries such as yourself in the development and management, as well as governance of endowments. And we are a leader in the responsible investing space for values-aligned Christian, like-minded progressive Christians. And we will talk a little bit about that socially responsible piece in the coming slides. As we move forward, we just want to let you know about our platform. So United Church Funds has 11 professionally managed fund options. 6 are actively managed funds with exposure to specific asset classes. And then we have 4 balanced funds that are a blend of those managed fund options. We will allow Gordon to share a little bit about what the allocation and fund option the conference has selected for the participants. But we also want you to know that we work with our clients to understand your goals, your risk tolerance, and really develop the right portfolio fit for you. And that's what we have spent time with the conference having conversations about. We track all of our fund performance versus industry standard indexes, as well as a peer group called the Lipper Peer Metrics that gives the opportunity for us to compare our performance versus our peers that have similar portfolio constructions. And something that is an added value in this relationship is that all of our traditional funds provide daily liquidity, which allows your churches to access funds when you need them on a more frequent basis without any penalties or fees for doing so. As we move forward to the next slide, this really gives you a picture of what our organization consists of. We are a nonprofit organization, just as the clients in which we serve. We're governed by our board of directors and president. And we have an investment committee that is made up of volunteers that really set the tone and oversee our investment program and overall strategy. We have an investments team that we contract through the pension boards of the UCC that work to actively manage asset allocation and manager weightings. We work with several different investment managers for their specific expertise in an asset class or a investment strategy. And then we have an investment consultant that helps us in doing some of the due diligence and research as it relates to the managers in which we contract with. So that is a picture of how our organization is structured. And then I also want you to know that we have a full staff of very experienced team members to assist with your transactional needs, with your questions around the investments, to support with some of the accounting and that work with our marketing and communications piece as you see more information coming your way. So I'll take a moment here to pause and turn it back over to Gordon before we talk more about next steps and allocation and things of that nature.
Very good, friend. So this is where this starts applying to you more directly. In the New Hampshire Conference Consolidated Investment Funds, we partner with approximately 60 churches. Of that, we have several hundred investments. We also have something known as trusts. We have, I believe, between 30 and 40 of those right now. I need to say up front that trusts are a little different than the rest of our investments. Those are situations where assets have been given to the conference to benefit others. In most of our cases, those are to the benefit of some of our churches. In those cases, the assets are owned by the conference. So even if your church may be the beneficiary from a trust, the conference is responsible for the management decisions regarding that. So when I talk about being a participant, if you're the beneficiary of a trust, you're not a participant in the same way as though your church has chosen to invest in the Consolidated Investment Fund, and the options are not quite the same for you. And I want to point that out in advance. If you think you have a trust or aren't sure if you have a trust, please be in touch with Lydia and or myself, and we will help sort that out so you understand fully what's going on. For everybody who's our investment partners, there's some things that we want you to know about as we make this change. The first step we want to lead with is, as we make this change, we know that this is a change for you. And we are offering up front a opt-out option. If you choose that you would like to withdraw your investments from the Consolidated Investment Fund and invest them elsewhere, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few moments. We have asked for a deadline of June 28th for you to let us know if you would choose to do this before we make this transfer to United Church Funds. So if you would like to do that in advance of that transfer, please let us know by June 28th. Once this transfer has been made complete and we have the accounting fully set up with UCF, you will, of course, again, be able to withdraw any of all your assets as you so choose. There may be a small period of time while we're making the transfer that won't be possible, however, which is why we're saying if you want it done in advance, please let us know by the 28th. Otherwise, we may tell you that you need to wait a little while. We would, of course, welcome you to continue to participate in doing your investment through the Consolidated Investment Fund. The conference is well aware that we have churches where leadership is feeling very taxed with the tasks of leadership. And the conference and our conference board has felt it's important for us to continue offering the service of the Consolidated Investment Fund, particularly for many like those churches, so that you know that we can provide the service of managing your investments for you, and that isn't a leadership task that you have to worry about on a regular basis. Of course, there may be other churches who don't necessarily feel that that responsibility would be taxing, but just appreciate being able to work with a partner that you've had a relationship for a while, and we certainly welcome your continued participation as well. That being said, we want to let you know that as we make this transition to doing our investments with United Church Funds, some of how the Consolidated Investment Fund does do our management will change, and we want to be upfront and let you be aware of that so you can make the decisions that you need to make in that moment. The biggest of these changes is that all the assets that are invested in the consolidated investment fund, so the nearly $14 million of the conference's own assets and the nearly $15 million of assets we invest on behalf of our partnering churches, all of that is going to be managed in one account. Within this account, there will be sub-accounts for each participant. One of the things we will talk with you about a little bit later is each of you as a participant in the Consolidated Investment Fund will have access to one of United Church Fund's client portals, and you will get to see what is happening with your assets at any given time. However, one of the differences from what our relationship was when we were with the Missionary Society of Connecticut's Consolidated Trust Fund is there we were offering you a few decisions around allocations as far as balance of equities versus fixed and such that churches were making choices in. As we move to United Church Fund, the Consolidated Investment Fund will no longer be offering such choices. We will be managing this as one account with our Consolidated Investment Fund Oversight Committee making the allocation decisions on behalf of all participants. As we have said, you may withdraw and choose to invest directly with United Church Funds or to invest with someone else and make those decisions on your own. But if you continue to participate in the Consolidated Investment Fund, those decisions will be made on behalf of the one account by that oversight committee. To let you know a little bit about what we are doing as we move into this new partnership, our oversight committee has made the decision that we will be investing through the United Church Fund's Beyond Fossil Fuel Balanced Fund. That is a fund that has certain strategies that have certain exclusions, and that includes exclusions for companies that work in the fossil fuel area. We're going to unpack that a little bit more for you later. The balanced fund has a balance between equities and fixed assets of generally approximately 60% being in equities and 40% being in fixed assets. That is where we are starting. As we move into this, we will gain some history. We do have the ability to have the oversight committee, after gaining some of this history, to say we want to adjust the sum and come up with a custom balance and change that. Any of those decisions, again, would be made by that oversight committee. I am going to throw to Lydia for a couple moments, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the practicalities of paperwork we'll need for you to continue with us and what making withdrawals and such would be like.
So again, I'm Lydia. One of the things that we will be sending out to the churches is new participant agreements. So because the CIF is basically reforming and going to the United Church Funds, the prior participant agreements will no longer be in place. So we have a new participant agreement with the New Hampshire Consolidated Investment Fund, and very similar to the previous agreement, we need to know who in your church can make decisions around the investment funds. So we'll ask for all this, the names, email addresses, phone numbers for the people that can make decisions around this investment fund. Those forms, we are right now reviewing them and updating them, and they will be available on the New Hampshire Conference website. I will also download the United Church Funds agreement, so that's available to churches as well if some of them decide to invest directly with UCF. So if there are any questions on that, You can contact me directly, or Gordon will be happy to walk you through it and explain any of the questions that we have on there. Gordon, do you want me to talk about the CIF structure? Did you want to take that one?
I was thinking I'd already covered that. If there's something more that you think needs to be added, please say it.
No, I think that one was pretty well covered. So in terms of the payments and withdrawals, so those will be handled through the New Hampshire conference. So you can email me directly or Gordon. I prefer that it comes through me so it doesn't clutter up his inbox. But anytime you have a request for a disbursement, or you want to make a investment in the CIF, that paperwork should go through me. So we'll make sure that it's all handled and put into the CIF properly.
Thank you, Lydia. I would say that I prefer that it go through you as well. But there are times that Lydia does things like go on vacation, and we understand that. So I will back Lydia up at times that she's unavailable, be available to our participants. So friends, I might throw our UCF friends for a bit of a loop, but I'm going to go out of order on the agenda I made for just a moment, because this seems like the better place to go right now. I want to talk about the possibility of investing directly through United Church Funds, which is an option that is open to all of our churches. If you all wanted to be more active in your management and be able to make allocation changes yourself and all of that, then the best decision for you might very well be to make those investments directly through UCF. On behalf of those of us in the New Hampshire Conference, we want to say to you very clearly that we don't believe that there is in any way a financial benefit to investing through the Consolidated Investment Fund rather than directly with United Church Funds. You'll be dealing with the same fees, the same type of things. We're not going to save you anything on that. It's a matter of how directly you want to be involved in the management of your own assets. And with that, I'm going to let our friends from UCF talk for a moment about what investing directly through them might look like.
Thank you, Gordon. As you said, really directly investing with UCF gives your church an opportunity to access all 11 of our investment fund options. So if that is something that is appealing to your church and you want to take a look at other options, we're happy to have that conversation with you about what else is available on the platform. It allows you the authorization to make your own allocation decisions, have periodic portfolio reviews directly with our staff and our team, and also to work directly with our client services group for any types of operational needs you may have as well. So we are happy to have those kinds of conversations, and we are making our information available at the end of this presentation if you want to speak with us about that and just really understand more of the benefits or some of the responsibilities that your investment team or your finance group of your church may have. We're happy to do that. I just want to see if my colleague Matthew Wagner had anything additional to add to that.
No, Stacy, you described it well. Only to say that this the change that New Hampshire is making to United Church Funds offers all of the churches a tremendous amount of flexibility. Sort of based on your needs and your goals and your objectives. If you want to be a little bit more hands off and continue in the CIF, we think that's a terrific decision. And as a fiduciary in your own local church, you're going to know what's best for you. But this gives you this additional option to be able to invest directly with us. And of course, we welcome that and welcome the questions and meetings that come along with helping us to further understand your church's specific goals and needs. And then we can help you work to craft a portfolio that's in alignment with your objectives.
Gordon, we'll turn it back over to you.
Very good. So Matthew, I'm going to send us back to talk about Beyond Fossil Fuels Balance Fund and other socially responsible giving investing opportunities. And then after that, if someone can talk to the client portal, I think we'd like to hear a little bit about that too.
Great. Gordon, thanks. For the next few slides here, it'll be the Matt and Matthew show from United Church Funds. We're going to walk a little bit. Yeah, there you go, Adam. Thank you. We're going to talk a little bit through the history and some of the information regarding the Beyond Fossil Fuels Balance Fund that Gordon had described earlier as the investment choice that the committee elected for to continue with this program. Let's before we talk about exactly where it's allocated today and the performance, let's walk back to 2012 and into 2013, where there were some real conversations in the United Church of Christ related to our denomination's response to climate change. And one of the ways that our church was a leader, and I say our church with a big C, the United Church of Christ, was a national and international leader in addressing negative impacts of fossil fuels and the impacts of climate change on all communities, particularly underserved communities, was the idea that we could create at the national UCC level a family of funds that was divested from the fossil fuel industry. So United Church Funds was in on the very first discussions with that, with many leaders from across the church. And at the 2013 General Synod meeting, which was held in Long Beach, California, and the General Synod is the national meeting of the United Church of Christ that happens every other year. At that meeting in Long Beach, our national church and the delegates from each conference voted to, among other strategies, use divestment as a way to combat the negative impacts of climate change and to be proactive leaders in the matter of climate justice. That vote was historic. We were the first mainline denomination, I believe, to divest of fossil fuels. And so United Church Funds had our marching orders. And within 2 years, we agreed that we would create what ended up being called the Beyond Fossil Fuels strategies. The Beyond Fossil Fuels Fund is an equity-only option, and the Beyond Fossil Fuels Balanced Fund is an option that has a target allocation, as Gordon alluded to earlier, of 60% in equity, 40% in fixed income. Those two funds were introduced in early November of 2014. We are quickly coming up on the 10-year anniversary of these strategies. And I want to walk through just a little bit about the allocation and some of the flexibility that we've built into the balanced fund model. So as I mentioned, target allocation of 60% equity, 40% fixed income. Fixed income is a kind of the fancy word for a diversified bond portfolio. Our professional investment team at United Church Funds has the ability to move the allocation plus or minus 10% from that 60-40. So we can increase equities to 70 or decrease down to 50, and with the fixed income the same. We can move it up to 50 or down to 30. We can also use up to 10% in cash to be able to mitigate some more volatile markets as we experience them, and certainly we've experienced them over the last decade or so. You can see on this chart, and by the way, this chart comes from a resource that we make available to all of our clients every single quarter called the Fund Fact Sheet. So these are fund characteristics as of March 31, 2024, the end of the last quarter. And you can see there the allocation pie on the left side of the page. About 35% of this fund is allocated to U.S. large cap stocks. Those are the largest companies that are domiciled here in the U.S. Think about the S&P 500 as the index for that. You can see a smaller portion, 6%, to U.S. small cap. Those are smaller companies that are based here in the U.S. International developed markets at 14% and international emerging markets at 8%. Those are, of course, companies that are domiciled overseas, and international developed markets are typically thought of as companies that are domiciled in Europe or Japan, while international emerging markets are in other areas of the globe, South America, Asia, and a handful of other places. And then lastly, you'll see there on the left, the core fixed income strategy at about 35%. So what that tells you, by the way, is that at the moment, as of the end of March, we were a little underweight to our equity, to our fixed income target of 40%. We were at about 34%. We're using about 3% in cash with the remainder in equities. And to the right there, you can see some of the various equity characteristics and fixed income characteristics of the portfolio. We can certainly do a deeper dive into many of those numbers, but for the purposes of our discussion tonight, this gives you a high-level overview of the asset allocation strategy of this particular fund that we offer. If we go to the next slide, you can see the performance. And let me walk you through the performance chart on the right. If you look at the bar chart on the right side of the screen and look at the bar in the middle under the 1 year category. So 1 year as of 3/31/2024 would be the performance of the fund from April 1, 2023 through March 31, 2024. And you can see there are 3 different colors. On the left of each time period, you'll see the Beyond Fossil Fuels Balanced Fund performance net or after all fees. That's really important. So we show performance after all fees have been taken out of the portfolio. And you can see there as an example that the 1 year performance of this fund was just shy of 18%. In the middle, there's a gray bar, and that is a custom index. So we've created an index that is 60% to the 60% equity and 40% fixed income. And that allows you to put our performance up against what the market would have given you, assuming no active management and no fees. And you can see there that we're ahead of the benchmark. And lastly, on the right of each time period, you'll see kind of the bluish purple bar, and that is the Lipper peer group. Stacy mentioned that we use Lipper peer groups as a further analysis on the performance of our funds. The Lipper peer group is a grouping of other investment managers that a company called Lipper puts together, and they create a median manager performance and use that as the Lipper peer group. And you can see that over all time periods, we are ahead of essentially benchmark and the peer group's net of all fees over 1, 3, and 5 years. I'm happy to answer other questions on performance, but in the interest of time, I want to move forward to the last slide that I'm going to talk about before I transition this to my colleague Matthew to talk more about responsible investing. And that is this slide of the sort of the 5 tools, if you will. So with $1.2 billion in assets under management and 1,100 clients, United Church Funds has the size and sophistication to be able to do a number of different things related to sustainable and responsible investing that local churches simply cannot do on their own, or they might find very costly or difficult. Matthew's going to talk more about the corporate engagement that we do, actually engaging with companies of which we own their shares to make them better corporate citizens over time. Of course, you've heard a lot about divestment on the far right of this chart tonight. The idea that we do not own certain industries or companies that engage in certain practices based on moral and or other grounds. And then lastly, on the left, you'll see manager selection. And we seek to work with investment managers. These are professional companies that manage assets for institutions like United Church Funds. And we seek to work with managers that also share our values, not only on climate justice, like with Beyond Fossil Fuels, but also on topics like diversity, equity, and inclusion, like the idea that we should be treating all persons, employees, and customers of publicly traded companies fairly, and of course that we should be treating the earth in a way that's sustainable. So just at a very high level, some of the 5 tools that are available to us, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Matthew to talk in a little bit more detail about some of these tools that we use on behalf of all of our clients. Matthew?
Thanks, Matt. Greetings, everyone. And yeah, if we can go to the next slide. This lists the exclusions that Matt was talking about. This is a list that gets reviewed annually. And you can see, tobacco, firearms, military, nuclear weapons production, private prisons, and coal extraction and oil are things that all of our funds exclude. And then in addition to that, the Beyond Fossil Fuels funds also exclude oil and gas companies. On top of that, there's the practices. So that's those first exclusions are really based on products or sales. And we do like to say in this time that we're not profiting from war and the military. But then in terms of practices, we also avoid companies based on their environmental footprint or harm, and then also who have red flags on labor and human rights practices. So that makes up our exclusionary screens. And as I said, that gets reviewed annually. We also do a lot of deep work in terms of engagement with our companies. The next slide, we'll talk about, this is the updates to, oh yeah, sorry, you can stay here, Adam. This is 7 companies where we filed shareholder resolutions. And you can see the ones in gray, Wells Fargo, HCA, Westlake, and JP Morgan have already gone to a vote. And you can see the results from those votes. And in fact, ExxonMobil's shareholder meeting was this morning. That support for single-use plastics received 21% support. And so this is a way for us to bring issues in front of shareholders that we believe are concerning, and we think not only from a values perspective, but also from a long-term value of these companies. These are risks that we and many investors believe these companies should be considering and putting on their agenda. Matt, Adam, if you want to go back one slide, Matt was talking about the Beyond Fossil Fuels funds. And as Matt said, that started out as a divestment strategy so that we would not be profiting from the oil and gas industry and from fossil fuels. It has now been updated to reduce the carbon intensity across the entire portfolio. And that means it's looking at every sector and now has a carbon intensity score for all those, every single company that's publicly traded. And our portfolio manager uses those scores and has designed the portfolio so that the total portfolio has a lighter carbon intensity footprint relative to its benchmark. And so we are also excited about that. You can read more about that in a video, or learn more about that in a video that our Stacy Pettis did by interviewing the portfolio manager and chief investment officer of PGIM Quantitative Solutions, Stacy Mintz, on our website, or when you get this deck, you can click on that link. I will now pass it back. Is this to you, Stacy, or Gordon, or Kelsey?
Kelsey.
Yes. I will be sharing a little bit about our client services and our client portal at United Church Funds, providing you access to your investments. So our client services team does personally handle all of the daily needs of our clients, including asset transfers, distributions or withdrawals, account and statement information for your review. And then also we do offer a service to facilitate stock donations to your churches and conference. And like Lydia and Gordon went through pretty thoroughly earlier, if you stick with the consolidated investment fund at the conference, all of that, UCF will be working with the conference on that directly for your needs. And then we also wanted to invite you to take a look at our website, ucfunds.org, and it has a lot of wonderful resources for you to take a look at. And that's also where you can find our online customer portal and where you can view your account statements. And we also have information on our investments and those quarterly fund fact sheets that Matt mentioned and kind of you saw a little bit about for the Beyond Fossil Fuels Balanced Fund. And we also have webinars and videos on a variety of topics, as well as written articles of interesting topics that you can find available. And then we also have planned giving and endowment best practices, news, and resources for your church and your work. And so to talk a little bit about our client portal, it's called InnoView, and you will have view-only access for your accounts, and that is where you can find your daily balances, your transaction and statements. And we do have a nice step-by-step guide and video tutorial for you as you learn to use the portal. It is pretty user-friendly, but we offer those resources and tutorials for you to help you get what you need out of the portal. And then I think there's one more slide. Yes. And so here are just some of the key benefits we wanted to share with you while we're all together for UCF clients. In terms of investments, we have an experienced institutional relationships team, which you've gotten to meet all of us today. We have a professionally managed platform of funds, and we have 11 values-aligned funds for portfolio customization options, unlimited accounts, and daily liquidity for stock and bond portfolios, which is a nice benefit. And then in terms of client services, we have a dedicated client services team that is working daily to make sure all of those needs are met. We have a secure client portal that is updated daily. We have electronic statements and ACH transactions, so direct deposit right to your accounts from your investments. And then, like mentioned earlier, we have stock donation services that you can access, planned giving resources, and endowment governance resources as well. So I think that is all for client services and portal. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I know there's some time before the transition happens, and just looking forward to hopefully working in the future together.
So friends, I want to take your questions as we get ready to do that. I want to again thank Lydia, our friends from United Church Funds, for their time today. There are two people who are among our attendees I want to make sure to offer thanks to. That is Mike Bennett, who has been chairing our Consolidated Investment Fund Oversight Committee throughout this whole transition. And Charlie Kuchenbrot, who has been a consultant to our investment and oversight committees for, I think it's got to be at least a good decade now. So we are thankful to have them with us and for the work that they've done to make this transition as smooth as possible. So I am going to invite you to put questions you have in the question and answer feature. I also, even if you don't have a question, would love to hear you from you what churches you're from, so we know that. So even if you don't have a question, if you put that in the chat, it'd be good for us to know which churches we have represented here. And if you're not very Zoom familiar, when you kind of scroll towards the bottom, the question and answer feature is the little one that says Q&A, probably about a third of the way through on the bottom as you scroll over that bottom toolbar.
So Gordon, as folks are putting in the Q&As, one just point of clarification, I want to make sure that everyone that watches this recording or is joining us live tonight understands is that related to the client portal, which is a really robust tool, we are going to be able to provide, you mentioned like one big account and sub accounts for all the participants in the platform. We'll be able to actually provide those participants with unique credentials, and access to their sub account. So they will be able to, even as part of this kind of larger CIF situation, local churches that stay in the CIF will be able to go onto our portal, look specifically at your accounts. You won't be able to see anything else, only yours. We'll give you access to those through that secure portal. So you have your own credentials on that, so that you can keep that information secure. You'll be able to look at statements, look at real time, essentially daily updated any activity, any transactions, statements, etc. So it is a robust platform. It's of course available to direct UCF clients, but we're making that also available to the participants within the CIF so that they have transparency on all of their accounts, related to, monthly and quarterly reporting.
Thank you for clarifying that, Matt. I had that in my head, but I'm not sure it all came out of my mouth, so I appreciate you doing that.
It looks like Claudine has a question about the new participant agreements and when those are due. Do you want to speak to that, Gordon?
Certainly. So I'm going to give you an answer and hedge it a little bit, which is right now we are hoping that we might have these available to you by next week. If we do so, we're going to hope that we can get them back by June 20th because we'd like to have these in hand and organized before we start making the transfer. If we don't have them prepared to get to you all by next week, we may stretch that deadline a little bit further. So at least think the latter half of June, and we will get you an exact date when we have the participate agreements available to you. Other questions you have, friends, or information on what churches you are from? I am not going to make us linger in silence for too long. I do want you to know that if you, as I have most anytime I do a webinar like this, have that question that pops into your head in the middle of the night or whatever. Not in the middle of the night, please, but the next day or the next week working day, please feel free to reach out to Lydia or myself. And I suspect that if you want to talk directly with the folks from UCF, they can tell us who to talk to there.
Absolutely. So we have a sort of a single email that's easy for everybody to remember. You can send your questions there, and then our staff will make sure to get those to the appropriate folks. That email is info at ucfunds.org. So info at ucfunds.org. That goes directly to our client services team, and they are great about making sure that all of that gets into all those questions, any information you'd like to share with us, it gets directly to Stacy or myself or Kelsey, and we'll be happy to answer your questions and get right back with you.
And you all are able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that, as well as Lydia's, my contact information, are all on that participants letter we sent to you if you're looking. And we did see, thank you folks from Pilgrim, Brentwood, Kingston, and Mason for letting us know that you were here.
Before we end, Gordon, I just want to, on behalf of our team, thank the New Hampshire Conference. Thank you for your leadership. Thank the investment committee for selecting United Church Funds. We are just really grateful to be able to expand our relationship with your conference, to be able to meet and serve the churches that use the CIF as their investment platform, and hopefully to be able to bring more financial education and awareness of fiduciary responsibilities to all of the settings of the UCC across the state of New Hampshire. So just really grateful for this relationship, and thank you so much for hosting tonight.
Thank you, Matt. We're excited to be in partnership as well. This is feeling like a very good relationship. So I did notice we had one more question in the chat about we have separate funds. Will they remain separate? Yes, we anticipate anything that's a particular fund now will remain a particular fund as it moves to UCF. We are not like consolidating all churches' funds or anything like that. At this time, those funds will remain as they are. They will just be invested, if you stay with us, to the Consolidated Investment Fund at United Church Funds. Obviously, if you choose to withdraw and direct invest, you get to make those decisions for yourself. So. Very good, friends. I think I am going to let us say good night. We're really grateful you're with us, willing to follow up and answer any questions you have. We know that this is a pretty major change for you as well. So let us know, and we're here to serve you as we make this transition. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Take care.